So I just came off of a phone call with someone who's, I think, in his end of 40s, beginning of his 50s, who's also originally from Congo but lives and I think grew up in Germany. And a few minutes into the conversation, he said that he has been thinking of moving back to an African country or coming back to the continent for I don't know how many decades already. So for quite a long time, and that he said that this is now the time to make the move and to see what else he can build or how else he can design a new life basically for him, trying out new things and just starting over again here on the African continent. And I was happy to hear this because he reached out to me because he saw the videos I posted about the journey and like about life here initially, and that this gave him the right motivation. And what I can take from this conversation now is that sometimes we wait for way too long to make things happen, and this always keeps staying a dream for us. And when I look at this example, I think now when he's starting over again, he's coming actually next month again, so in just 1 month, to visit Nairobi again to see how life actually is this time if he would live here. It makes me think that we sometimes just keep stuck in the dreams we have, and we say we do it when the time is right, that we do it when this and this and this happened. But now when I look at my personal case, that I moved here to Kenya when I was 23, and that I can now inspire people in our age, in my age, that are also in his 20s or just young Africans or young diasporans, and even older people who now have and build up the courage to say like, okay, let me try it now to see what I can do when I go back to the African continent, and just simply try to reorganize and redesign my life completely from scratch and see what life has to offer for me. This shows me very clearly that there's no time to waste, because oftentimes, as I said, we wait for the right timing, we wait for this and this happened, and now in the stage, for instance, where he is in life, or if you watch another video of mine where I was giving you the story of my uncle, that he also moved to Zanzibar now when he was 50 years old, and still for the past 2 years he built a life and he's as happy as I never saw him before. So it simply shows me that you shouldn't waste any time to make a move, and it doesn't need to be like permanently. It can also be just temporary, just to see and figure out how it is to build life actually here. If you start your business here, even if you just come here and work remotely, even if you just try to get a feeling for it, because we often get stuck. I just speak now from the perspective of a young African diasporan who made the step himself, and I couldn't be more happier with the decision that I made and with the life I have built already over the last 2.5 years, and that I'm building out currently, and that I can now say that I will probably never live back in Germany anymore, and that this here now is the home continent, and especially Kenya now is my home country, because now I see how different life can be. And as I said, even if it wouldn't be like permanent move for you, it's just helpful if you get out of the comfort zone, go here or come here for 6 months to a year, or go to, I don't know, maybe the home country of yours if it's possible, if it's a place to go to, if it's a safe one, and just figure out how life there actually is, because eventually it will just give you a new perspective. And this, first off, when you are my age, when you're like in your early 20s or mid 20s, but even when you're older, I think this just gives you a new perspective on many different things and shows you what life actually has to offer for you, that you are not too stuck in the cycle of living in the Western countries, or in this case in Germany, like he did, or like I was, or like my uncle was. But that it just shows you that there's more to life and maybe more alternative ways to live life out, and that this doesn't necessarily mean that you, let's say, will lose out on any opportunities that would occur over there in Germany or wherever you are based in the Western countries. It simply means that you just can broaden your perspective on life, that you simply can get, let's say, a fresh pair of glasses on to see life from a different lens and perspective, that you get to learn how you can build life on a different continent, in a different country, and especially in a country or of African origin, if you're from an African origin. I think this was one of the most important things for me, to now step out of the life I would have lived back in Germany, to come over here to figure out who I actually am, what I actually want to do, what opportunities are actually here on the ground, because oftentimes the picture we get also that we people create for us here about the African continent or of the African countries, it's oftentimes that it's very bad here, that there's nothing to do, there's no opportunity and stuff like this. So we don't even oftentimes question what it actually looks like. So I see many young people rather traveling to, I don't know, Asian countries, to South American countries, to countries that are, let's say, maybe a little bit more mainstream and like look nice as well, but we don't even try to take a look at the roots we are from, or we don't even try to figure out how to build life here on a different path, and not go with the mainstream wave, basically, of like the Asian countries, like or the South American countries. So I think this lets us, this pushes us to miss out on many different things that help us grow actually, because oftentimes then when we go, or like when I see many people travel to, I don't know, Bali for instance, or Thailand or something, or South American countries, then there again they live in the bubbles of all the foreigners they are in. And here actually this gives you another chance to get a whole new perspective on life, to get a whole new perspective on what you can do, and this especially if you try to do something on the ground here, because then you see the opportunities, then you see just simply an alternative path of life. And I'm not saying that this is the easiest path you can choose, or that this is the most comforting and convenient way you can choose, but I'm simply saying that this shows you an alternative path. Because also, to give you an example, the last 2.5 years for me also were not the easiest ones, but they were the most, these were the last 2.5 years were the years where I had the most growth initially. Basically I had the most growth because I had to face so many different challenges, I had to figure out so many different things, and because everything was different, this helped me to gain so many new perspectives, to meet so many new people, interesting people that went similar path, that are local here from Kenya or the other African countries that I have traveled to during the time. What wouldn't be on my radar if I would have just stayed in Germany and just traveled from there, because then people travel to different places and they don't have a look at the African countries. And now, because I chose to live here, I had a chance to travel to Uganda, to Zanzibar, Tanzania a couple of times, to Namibia, South Africa. I traveled over the whole country of Kenya, so I got to know many different places that are not that common, that helped me to feel much more connected to the African continent, and especially now here to Kenya. What is otherwise, if we are stuck, as said, especially as young people now, we or you guys, you have the chance to take a separate path than what is laid out currently for you after university or after school or whatever it is, to decide and redecide and reorganize your life, to redesign your life, that you don't have to do it later when you're in your 40s or 50s, you have family, you have more liabilities, you have more, I don't know, you have a mortgage to pay for your house, or you have loans, you have cars, you have whatever you have more just family around you or people around you that rely on you over there. Because now is the time to, if I can speak from my own experience, now is the time to make a choice like this that is completely drastic, to see what life is like on a different country, in a different country, or on the African continent especially. Because this will help you to gain experience. As said, even then, as I mentioned earlier, you can go back after 6 months, after a year, after 2 years, if you don't like it, if this doesn't feel like the life you want to build. But you will go back with a perspective that is 100 times more broader and brings 100 more different perspectives with it than just staying on the same path as anybody else in Germany or in any other Western country. All of this to say is just, I want you to try out and like just take risks, because in the end of the day, what is there to lose and what do you have to gain on the other hand? Because if you can just go back to the country and start over again, or if you can take a big risk, take that big upside with you, get more perspective, learn new things, maybe eventually win here and like make some money and like have an impact on, well, in whatever way you want to have an impact in, I think the upside is much, much higher than considering the risk you have. Because now for me, in case if I would fail, and I'm very aware of this privilege and this security net that is there, but I'm not relying on it, or like I don't this is not my main focus on everything I do. I want to make things work, but in the end of the day, if I would fail here, I couldn't make any money anymore, or like there's too many issues coming up and I don't prefer to stay here anymore, I could simply go back to Germany. I know that I can find a job and I can continue life as it used to be like 3 years ago, basically. And the same thing I would say is for you. Like there's one of my Kenyan friends in Germany, and I think he has been living in Kenya also since he was a kid. I think since he was like 10 years old or something like that. And now since when I met him, I think it's now 2 years ago or something, we also talked that I live here. We chatted a bit, and he got to know that I live here in Kenya, and he was so surprised that I live in his home country. He was very surprised, and like now he also, deep in his heart or in his mind, he also wants to come back, and he told me, but it's just not, let's say, the security or the safety still holds him there, because there you can earn some money, you can have a job, or you are just trying to figure out your way. But taking a risk like this might give you a complete new way of life. And this, again, even if you go back to the country where you came from, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to stay there. Later on, you can also, then maybe this shows you a side, and where you realize that the world is big, that you can do different things, you try out different things, you move to another country, you try something completely different again, or you just stay there and you feel okay, but at least you tried. Because when I talk now to all the people that are reaching out to me more and more frequently, they always tell me that they are now ready to start over again, to try out a new path of life, to figure out what life actually has to offer for them, and that brings another whole new challenge. And that's why I want to share this specific message to the young African diasporans and people that can maybe resonate with the person I am. And just want to tell you that I think now is the time, because otherwise you wait for another 5 years or 10 years or 15 years or whatever amount of time it is, and then you will be like, ah, damn, I should have maybe done this and this and this and this. And I just want to eradicate that you need to think that way in the next, I don't know, decade or something, and at least that you tried, it eventually works out. Even if it doesn't work out, you tried, you can go back home, or you can do the things without a regret, and simply live life on the terms you want to live life on. And I would say this is already it, and I would love to hear your thoughts, where you're from, if you're already having or had these thoughts of going back to your country, or like to any other African country to start your life over again there, or to build a business there. Whatever draws you over there, I would love to hear what you have in your mind, that I can also maybe help you with some guidance and maybe motivate you or push and inspire you as well, or that we can all each other inspire us in the comments down below, because now is the time to take radical risks like this, because what is there to lose on our end, in our cases basically. So I appreciate you watching a lot, and I see you in the next video.